So in this week, what we're talking about still is this idea of how diversity, equity, and inclusion can lead to greater leadership capacity. Now, what we're going to focus on today is we are going to focus on what it means to be able to use diversity, equity, and inclusion to build meaningful relationships. Now, I don't know if you've had this experience, but if you ever had like a time, maybe it was at band camp, or maybe it was while you were in college, or maybe it was when you were in high school, but just a time where it got late into the night and you were sitting next to somebody and you started to have a conversation and you started to have like a really awesome, really intimate conversation where you talked about your life and you talked about where you've been and you talked about where you had, struggles and you talked about what you love to do and what you're most passionate about. Like those like in the middle, going into the middle of the night, you never wanted to end kind of a conversation. Well, that is what getting into the diversity, equity, and inclusion space is. Because when you open yourself up to the work and when you open yourself up to embrace other people and embrace the things that make them diverse, what you're doing, and when you really do it in a way that is inclusive, like because you want to know and because you care, what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to have more and more of those kinds of meaningful conversations. And so that is what this is all about. Like when you are in the diversity, equity, inclusion space, and when you're winning in that space, you know what you're doing? You're creating meaningful relationships. And every leader needs to know how to do that. So I would suggest doing it through the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. Figure out how people are moving in the world and why they're moving differently from you. Embrace that and build those lasting, going into the middle of the night because it's so good conversation kind of relationships.